We're in a pretty place. Super idyllic. Just walking around. Leaves crashing, light glittering. And it's a good day. Quite excellent. And I'm extremely glad that summer seems to be on the way out. It's cooled down quite a bit and we probably won't get any more heat waves. In fact, pretty much guaranteed. So it would be very unlikely here. So, good stuff. Right? How are you doing up there?
Doubt they can hear me.
Yeah, with all the wind they probably can't. Oh well. Yay for forest trail. That's nice. Dark and nice. And cool.
Yep.
Gotta appreciate that too. With the way every summer has been hotter, I do have to wonder where this is gonna end. Planet is gonna turn to Mars or something. I mean, parts of it, I guess. It would be really awesome to have time superpowers and magic or whatever. Like, not even time travel, but just being able to like create an illusion in the place where you are, that you can kind of wind forward and backward in time just to see what's happening.
That's
or what happened.
Sentience.
Yeah, it's kind of a form of clairvoyance, I guess. Yeah,
Sentience, not voyance.
it's or sentient or whatever. That would be incredibly interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in some places not so much, because a place like this wouldn't change as much, but it would still be interesting.
Ferns.
I mean, it would definitely be interesting to go very far forward in time, like millions of years. That would be pretty cool. Just to see what happens to the planet overall. Like, wind it forward. Wind, I guess the 90s kid is speaking here. Skip forward far enough until the sun burns out or turns into a red giant first, and just to see how everything changes. Just to see what it looks like, all the way until, well, eventually you wouldn't be able to see anymore because there wouldn't be any more light, but pretty much that would be pretty awesome. And in some places, if you're in the city, that's particularly interesting to see how things changed over time. And of course you could learn so much about history from that. It would be probably kind of frustrating if you were the only person who has that kind of power, and you can look at any time in history and it could be, oh, this is what actually happened, but you can't tell anyone because they wouldn't believe you. It's like, yeah, of course you have magic. Yeah. So you would be in this frustrating situation where if you go to like if you talk to a historian or archaeologist, you read a history book or whatever, it's like, no, this is not right. This is not what it looked like. But you can't tell them because they would think you're crazy.
Well, isn't it kind of worse if you're a vampire and actually live through it, though?
Yeah, it is. Even living through, but I definitely would prefer to just be able to look through it, like a projection essentially, because that way you don't have to deal with the trauma. I mean, just imagine, being either immortal or just living for thousands of years, and you go through all this shit. You see so many people dying who are important to you, and you see all the wars, and you see everything degrade. Well, okay, not everything degrading. Some things get worse, some get better. But particularly if you like nature and you see it all get trampled and bulldozered, and just kind of that seems like it would suck.
Well, the question is, what's worse? seeing the people you care about die or forgetting that you ever cared about them.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have
Eidetic memory.
Yeah, exactly. If you don't have eidetic memory, then you'd forget a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can't remember 85% of my life, so there would just be larger, much larger time periods that you don't remember or not well. That really depends on memory. Yeah, that's true.
Also just emotional capacity.
Yeah, that too.
Because we see empathic fatigue in humans already.
Yeah.
How much worse does it get if you live for that long?
Yeah, I mean, if you'd still have a human mind as such, but still live that long, I think that would cause a lot of problems because the human mind isn't really adapted to such a lifespan.
Oh, absolutely.
So
not.
you may get, you may go crazy, or you may get just cognitive problems. Like for example, the human mind isn't really. Well, we can't say designed. Some people would say that, but I don't.
We haven't evolved
Equipped. The human mind isn't equipped to process that much information. Like 100 years is a lot for a human. 1,000, 10 times that's crazy. I mean, you'd have to forget a lot because otherwise, we even though we still don't know exactly how memories. I mean, we do have a model of how memories are formed, but we don't know the fine details. And the question is there like an absolute capacity limit eventually? If you accumulate that much, do you just start forgetting more?
I
guess.
The way we remember isn't even correct. To put it like that. Every time you remember something, you change the memory.
Right, yeah. That's kind of weird.
If you remember the same thing over 1,000 years, the memory that you end up by the end of the 1,000 years is completely different from the memory when you made it.
Exactly. It's also really weird that you can have a lot of memories that are not accessible. Like you don't have the cue to recall it. And the question even is, do we truly forget anything, or does it just become harder to recall?
It gets overlayered, it becomes other stuff.
I guess it's like delete in Windows, where it just marks it as, can be overwritten, but it's not actually gone.
Similar. I'm not a cognitive psychologist.
I know.
So I don't have the full education to really make good statements. You don't take me without looking at a meta study.
Yes, that's true. So it's kind of interesting. So that's why I'm also thinking that just being able to look through, kind of browse through the history of a place sort of virtually without being actually in those time periods would be better, because then at that moment you can look it up. And whereas if you were alive during the the fall of Rome, your memory may be seriously compromised at this point, so you may not be remembering some things very well.
Well, at the same time, we know the memory is formed better by larger inputs of sensory information. If you're browsing through it, you don't get an emotional reaction to it, so your memory isn't actually very good.
Okay, that's true. But at least then you can kind of treat it as an encyclopedia almost.
True.
So what did they wear at that time again? Oh, let me scroll through it real quick.
Okay, yes.
Oh yeah, this is about the right time. This is what people wear. And then, I mean, you would have to have some kind of timer. Like as you browse through the time periods, you would have to have it dated, like in the upper right corner or whatever.
No, not really virtual reality.
I know, because otherwise you don't know exactly which time period it is. You can, if you have enough historical knowledge, you can recognize it, but you won't be able to see, like, okay, is this 1450? Is this 1480? What is this?
Well, the thing is, what you could potentially do is have a list of events that happen in a place and then go back and forth from there. If you know that in 1473 something happened at a place, and then you can go a year after that, a year before that, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Of course, you could find out, that date is completely wrong.
That'd be interesting, yeah. could find out so many things. I mean, you would still have problems like language barrier, of course.
Obviously.
And like if you watch a historical video, quote unquote, a time video, then you wouldn't get translation.
Nope.
So if you look at people, in the Ice Age, you have no idea what they're talking about, but you can at least observe them, which would be extremely fascinating.
Fascinating, yes, but a little bit weird and removed.
Yeah. And also kind of creepy stalker.
Oh, that's true. But that might be. I'm a very experiential learner, so just looking at something isn't really interesting to me.
Fair enough, I guess. So yeah, time would be quite interesting. And I said things like, the end of life, well, the start and the end of life on the planet. And if you wanted to look at stuff like that, you would have to be able to go fast forward
Oh,
or
absolutely.
back, like very fast.
Yeah, because let's be honest, that's going to be millions of years of. It's a rock.
Yes, exactly. So you'd have to. in some time periods, you could go, say, like a year per second. But for some, you'd have to go 10, 100, 1,000 years to really see appreciable change.
Absolutely more.
Yeah, more even.
You just
If you go
underestimate the insane amount of time.
Oh
here.
yeah, if you go way back, then you have to basically go 100,000 years a second or something, and then still wait a while.
Yep.
It's pretty crazy. This is also the weird thing about human history. Like
We're a blip.
the time that we live in right now is this tiny, tiny little speck in the history, not just of humanity, and even more so in the history of the planet. That's just so insignificant. But we see this
Insignificant.
we see the super fast change, like the between 1850 and 1950 and 2050 is dramatic difference, like crazy. Whereas between 1050 and 1150, who cares?
I'm pretty sure the people living
Before, I
in it.
mean, if you go 50 years in the Ice Age, then that doesn't matter. At least probably, as far as we know, because the material evidence didn't change at all over hundreds and thousands of years. And you'd think that for people things wouldn't change that dramatically, but then it all speeds up a lot. And of course that leaves us wondering, what's the future going to be like? Is this rate of change, is this going to keep accelerating? Is it going to slow down eventually? Is it going to taper off or remain stable at some point? Either way, 500 years from now, that would be interesting. What the hell's happening then? I mean, it depends on how messed up things have become.
Oh, that might be interesting to look at too.
Oh yeah, it's true. Like, how harsh is the climate by then? Or who knows? Anyway, I think that's enough rambles for one video, right? It's just a lot of forest here.
So it should be.
A lot of forest. Hope you're having a great day.